The hum of the earth tugged at John's bones as he followed the dingy corridor deeper under the university grounds. His footfalls echoed off crumbling brick walls etched with cracks like pale veins under pallid fluorescent lighting. Emily clutched his arm, her breathing shallow in the stale air. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered, trembling. John paused and turned to his friend, gripping her shoulders reassuringly. "We'll be fine. It's just a little exploring, then we can get out of here." Though her wide eyes betrayed lingering doubts, Emily nodded determinedly. She had always supported John no matter the endeavor, from ambitious school projects to more questionable excursions like this one. Her trust buoyed his confidence even as an ominous weight descended in his gut. Ahead, Thomas's excitable proclamations bounced chaotically off the narrow passage. "This place goes on forever. Just think of what secrets we may uncover." John quickened their pace to catch up to the brash youth, unwilling to let him stray too far from the group. As the tunnel split again, Thomas disappeared around a corner without waiting. "Thomas, wait up!" John called, exchanging an anxious glance with Emily before breaking into a sprint. Around the bend, darkness engulfed the corridor ahead. John fumbled for his phone, clicking on the flashlight with unsteady fingers. The thin beam probed the shadows to no avail. "Thomas?" No response but his own labored breathing echoed back. Emily gasped, "John, look!" Scratched messily into the crumbling wall were symbols, lines and curves alien yet intimate, stirring some long-buried instinct within. Fingerprints smudged the dredgings as if hastily scrawled in a moment of madness. John leaned closer, drawn to decipher the cryptic message, when a scuttling skittered in the dark. Emily yelped and clung to him, peering fearfully into the black maw yawning before them. Her grip tightened, nails biting into his arm, but he could not tear himself away from the strange etchings pulling him into their abyss. Something was drawing them deeper, beckoning them to uncover more of its cunning designs. But what dark secrets lay concealed in the foundations of that forsaken place? The musty air thickened as John continued down the tunnel, alone but for the tiny beam of light guiding his way. An hour had passed since Emily's screams echoed to silence, and still no sign of either her or Thomas. His frantic searching revealed only more crumbling walls scrawled with those same alien symbols, as if the very stone breathed them into being from some unspeakable dream. Rubbing weary eyes, John slumped against the brickwork. Exhaustion pulled at his frayed nerves like the labyrinth drew him deeper into its bowels. What had possessed them to delve into this abominable place? Curiosity certainly, yet some intrinsic human quality too, a strange compulsion to peel back reality's veils no matter the horrors glimpsed beneath. A scuttling dragged John from his daze, puffy eyelids flying open as primal instinct surged anew. His flashlight stabbed the darkness, alighting upon a sight that curdled his blood. At the tunnel's end, those same sinister scribbles had engulfed the walls in a tangled maze of lines from floor to ceiling. With blurred vision, John staggered toward the chaotic scrawl, drawn by its esoteric magnetism even as terror throttled his heart. Something wasn't right down here. The air itself twisted and writhed, bearing intangible malice upon its stale breaths. John swiped cold sweat from his brow, lungs heaving for oxygen that seemed ever thinner. Maybe this was all a dream, a waking nightmare conjured by his own mind undoing in this lightless tomb. If only he could wake, escape this oppressive prison bearing down upon shattered sanity like the very earth itself. A clattering ahead jolted John from hysteria's brink. Shining his light revealed a heap of fallen rubble blocking the corridor. His friend's name sprang unbidden to chapping lips as John scrambled over the cave-in, praying to find Emily safe beyond. Instead, the thin beam fell upon a gruesome discovery. Pinned and twitching beneath a massive boulder was Thomas, eyes bulging in agony, crimson bubbles frothing from his lips with each ragged gasp. John fell to his knees in horror, heaving dry sobs that burned his throat. This couldn't be real, it was all just a terrible dream. Through the haze, movement caught his eye. A gaunt figure emerged from the inky tunnel like a wraith, lean limbs twisting at unnatural angles as dead eyes crinkled into a skeletal grin. "Welcome, I've been expecting you." The professor's sibilant rasp echoed down the passage. "Now let's begin our research in earnest, shall we?" John's blood turned to ice in his veins. This monstrosity was the professor, the man they had trusted at the university above. Now his gaunt visage leered hungrily in the suffocating darkness, thirsting to tear apart their minds as eagerly as his hellish experiments rent flesh. "What have you done?" John rasped, stumbling back from the abysmal thing's advancing grasp. The professor cackled, a grating shriek that scraped raw nerves to the quick. "What I was put on this earth to do, unlock humanity's greatest potentials through science's divine push." Calloused fingers reached beseechingly toward the broken body of Thomas, scarlet ichor still welling from ruined lungs. John's stomach roiled, but he fought down hysteria, knowing this demon cared little for reason or mercy. Only one thought pulsed clear through the fog: find Emily and escape this place of desecration. John turned and fled down the passageways at a limping sprint, the professor's inhuman shrieks peeling flesh from bone in frantic pursuit. Deeper and deeper John plunged into the labyrinth's bowels, losing all sense of direction. His pursuers' cries echoed from every tunnel, each twist and turn an agonizing choice with annihilation dogging steps. At last a glimmer ahead, the faintest glow spilling from an open archway. John lunged toward salvation and stumbled into a cavernous chamber, mechanisms and equipment looming indistinct in dim amber lamps. And there, tied to a gurney convulsing in wordless agony, was Emily. Wild eyes latched onto John with recognition flickering beneath torment's veil. A croak escaped her mangled throat: "Run!" Too late. The professor materialized behind, syringe glinting venomous violet in his grasp. "Time for your treatment, my dear. Soon you'll see the true potential of science's grasp." With an inhuman howl of fury and grief, John launched himself at the monster. A visceral crunch resounded as their struggle sent equipment toppling in an explosion of glass and chemicals. His enemy grinned through a mask of ichor, lunging once more with needle dagger extended. With the last of his strength, John grasped a falling fire extinguisher and swung with all rage and sorrow fueling the blow. The professor crumpled, head pulp spattering the chamber's far wall. His collapsing bulk triggered an avalanche as the shaking foundations gave way at last. Dust choked the fiery air as an ear-splitting rumble signaled the labyrinth's burial and their own entombment within. Through the haze, John crawled toward Emily's still form. Her eyes fluttered open as a gentle hand brushed matted hair from her forehead. A weak smile creased her ashen features, and with her last breath she whispered, "It's over." Then all was silence and darkness.